Hey there, as you can hear, I got a little bit of a cold. This week on the Weekend Review, we're talking about jobless claims, consumer sentiment, Brexit, we're talking about 529 plans, investment advisory firms, paying back fees, and of course the college scandal. So make sure you stay tuned. Hey there, I'm Justin Castelli, CEO of Harmless Wealth Management. Today is March 16, 2019. This is your weekend review and your weekly mixtape on All About Your Benjamins. If you excuse my scratchy voice today, I'm dealing with a little bit of a cold, which is why I'm recording this later than usual. Try to give myself some time to get better, but not much improvement. So let's go ahead and dive into this week's week in review video, and we'll try to keep it short and sweet. That way you don't have to listen to this horrible voice. We'll start off with some economics, and this week consumer sentiment numbers were released and they improved in March. So we took a dip down in February, bounced back in March, so consumers are feeling better and more optimistic about the future. Not a huge surprise if you think about earlier in the year we were dealing with government shutdowns and a shaky stock market, global slowdown fears, China, all these other things. Some of them are still around, but some of those have also gone away, which is leading to consumers feeling good, which I think is a good thing. I think mindset and optimism carries things a long way, so if consumers are feeling good, that's a good sign in my book. Next up, we're talking about Brexit. So Brexit is going to be around with us a little bit longer because the vote about the UK leaving the EU has been pushed back even further. So this conversation is going to continue a bit longer, which could have some short-term implications in the market, spooking investors from time to time, depending on what is said. So again, I always bring these global things in because I'm a global investor. I believe in a diversified global portfolio. So as I've told you many times, I think it's important to know what's going on around the globe, not necessarily making any changes to your portfolio, but understanding why certain areas may be doing things within the portfolio and knowing what's going on. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time there. Next up, jobless claims were actually up, a little bit of a surprise, but not by very much. It was 6,000 jobless claims. So we ticked that up. But if you think about the jobs reports over the last couple of months and the lower numbers of jobs added, probably not a huge surprise. It was a low number, so I don't think there's anything to be concerned about or read too much into it. But just it is a headline that's out there. Depending on what news front you're looking at, they can be used to be a negative headline and maybe spark up some concerns. But it was a small number, and nobody really put a lot of weight behind it, at least this time. But if the trend continues, obviously we need to pay attention to that. But the jobless claims were up 6,000 over the last month. So that is the last of the major economic news. I want to go over to another section. There are about 80 investment advisory firms that are paying back $125 million to investors for putting them into higher cost mutual funds. To no surprise, the company that is paying back the most, I'll let you guess. Yep, that's right, Wells Fargo, no surprise. So Wells Fargo is paying back $17 million to investors, and what they did was basically put their clients and investors into share classes that were more expensive. So a real quick explanation of what that is. If you were to pull up a fund company, mutual fund company A, they've got a fund one. But fund one has a variety of different ways that you can be placed, and it's all about the fees and expenses. So you have A share funds, B share funds, C share funds. Some companies have R and institutional, all these different types of share classes, which basically breaks down how the fees are taken out and how advisors are compensated. Well, some of these companies, you can do an A share class, which will pay a trailing fee to the advisor, or you can do an institutional share class, which does not pay a trailing fee to the advisor. And because it does not pay a trailing fee, the expenses are lower, which is better for you, the investor. So the problem with this is if you're paying an advisor 1% to manage your investments, and then you're also seeing them get a kickback from the mutual fund company when they could be putting you into the same exact fund, same exact investments, but a lower cost vehicle of that same fund, that's better for you, but the advisor's not necessarily doing that, and they're making money off of it. So this is where the whole fiduciary conversation comes into play. But anyways, there are firms that are paying back all this. And I just bring that up to make sure you understand the funds that you're owning. Why do you own them? And are there lower cost options for the exact same fund? And if so, why are you not in them? So just a conversation to have with your advisor and being aware of what all is out there, because you're trusting your advisor to do what's best for you. And most advisors really are. But sometimes, whether they know it or not, they may be having you in higher investment funds when a better, lower cost option is out there. And again, this is not comparing two different funds. This is the exact same fund, just with a different fee structure, and the advisor keeping you in one that's higher, so he or she makes more money, which means your money grows slower. So just be aware. Staying with fees, there's an article, this is not a national headline or anything, but I found an article in the Wall Street Journal about 529s and fees and being aware of those and how much those fees impact your 529 and growth for college and higher education expenses for your children or grandchildren. I bring this up mainly because in Indiana, what they're talking about in this article actually applies to our plan. The College Choice 529 plan, which is the Indiana plan, has two versions. It has an advisor version. It has a direct version. In the advisor version, the investor actually pays a commission. It starts at 5.25%, and that comes off the top. It goes to compensate the advisor. There's also a direct version, which means you, the investor, go directly to the plan. You pay no commissions. You have a little bit different investment options, but it's much lower cost, and I think that's the best version for everybody in Indiana. I don't really think that you should pay an advisor for the 529 plan because there's not a lot of investment management that can really go into it. There's a very finite number of investments there. I don't think it warrants the fee. And as you'll see in this article, there's an advisor that uses the direct plan but charges like $100 to get the plan set up. For me, I just waive that and help it get set up because it's part of what I do, and it's not really that time consuming to where I think it warrants paying anything. So be aware of your 529 plan. Are there multiple options for your state? Should you use your state plan? Again, in Indiana, we get a tax credit, so yes, it makes sense. But be aware of everything, of all those minor details, because it adds up and can have an impact on your portfolio for that 529. Finally, going with 529s into college, not a lot to say about this other than just it's a big topic, is the college admissions scandal where we have some famous people who were paying lots of money to get their kids into colleges because they were not able to get on their own or weren't confident they would. The only comment on this I have is it's a shame because there's so many people who are struggling to even afford to go to college, and here we have people that are going above and beyond the expense to make sure their kids are getting into those colleges. And in some ways I can respect that. I would do anything for my boys, obviously not going above the line and crossing into something illegal, but we want to do what we can for our kids. But again, at the same time, you can't go around bribing or making contributions to fake groups to get your children in there. Read this article and see some of the things that are going on as far as using pictures of other people to get their kids in under sports scholarships or admissions for sports. It's crazy what was going on. It makes me wonder what other scandals like this are out there or have there been that we never know about. Just kind of, not that I want to look at things negatively, but just kind of a what if. So very interesting story, and I'm sure we'll have a lot more of this to come out as more time goes on. Well, that's it for this week. My voice is getting ready to go, so I'm going to end this real quick. So thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe. If you're watching this on YouTube, head on over to All About Your Benjamins for the links to all of the articles. Make sure to read the weekly mixtape down below. There's a lot of good posts this week from some of my friends around the world. And if you are listening to this on your Amazon device on Sunday, again, head on over to All About Your Benjamins or to YouTube. There'll be a link as well to check out all of the articles and the mixtape articles. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.